landed 42 out of 71 punches.
We're not sure about Gatti because he hasn't been in this kind of a war with as strong a fighter as Ward before.
May 2002, Arturo Gatti against Mickey Ward. First fight of an incredible trilogy. The third fight was outstanding, second fight was epic, but the first fight, nothing really followed it. It was just an incredible fight. Round 9, I think if you put it in a time capsule, it was quite possibly the very best round for entertainment in boxing history. It was an incredible session. Ward was firing down on Gatti's body, got him with that left hook downstairs, floored Gatti. Gatti came back, roared back, but then Mickey Ward finished on top. Controversy about how to score that round, 10-8, 10-7, made all the difference when just the point separated them at the end of a fight. It was a terrific fight. From a personal standpoint, the best fight I've ever been to. In fact, I knew it was going to be a great fight. It was so good. I sold my old J. Reg escort and went and travelled over as a fan to go and watch it. And there was no regrets. It was the best thing I've ever seen in my life. Gatti Ward Part 1. That's why it's number 5 in our 100 greatest fights of all time.
This should be the round of the century.
Their first fight was set for September 1946 at Yankee Stadium, and it was one of the most thrilling fights of all time.
I'm here to talk about Tony Zale, Graziano I, and why it deserves to be in the top 10 of Boxing News's 100 greatest fights. It was one of the greatest middleweight fights of all time, one of the greatest fights of all time, obviously, a fight that really had all the elements of a classic. The action itself swung from one to the other. Zale, the middleweight champion of the world, put Graziano down in the first round. Graziano came back in the second, put him down, was coming on strong. Nearly ended Zale's championship reign in the 5th, and then in the 6th, with the heart of a champion, Zale hit him with a body shot, dropped him with a left hook. The shot he dropped him in the first round, actually, and Graziano couldn't beat the count and was out. But not only the action of the fight itself, they had two contrasting characters. Zale was a sort of clean-cut, American hero, whereas Graziano was the self-described dead-end kid who'd been in the reform school, gone AWOL during the war, which obviously would have been a sore point as the fight took place in 1946. And it spawned a great rivalry. They went on to have 2 more fights, and that's why Tony Zale, Graziano I, deserves to be number 4 in Boxing News's 100 greatest fights.
Graziano misses a right over the head, takes a right to the jaw by Zale. Graziano on the ropes, gets away from a jab thrown to his chin. Zale is in with a right to the body and they maul each other.
That could be the difference in the fight. That could be the difference in the fight.
I didn't see the punch.
A little left hand inside.
Now Morales knows he's got to do something dramatic. Right back. And he's only got 15 seconds to do it. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. What a fight! I think Barrera won it. A brilliant 12th round performance by Marco Antonio Barrera.
On February the 19th, the year 2000, a fight was born that we called the 3rd best fight of all time. Erik Morales and Marco Antonio Barrera. There were 2 grudge rivals. When this pair said they didn't like each other, they meant it. Morales claimed that he dropped Barrera in earlier sparring sessions, to which Barrera replied, only in Eric's dreams. And when the fight began, they refused to touch gloves. They didn't acknowledge each other in that way until the very, very last round. When they got into the ring, they were ferocious. Their dislike spilled out into their gloves, into the combat. It was quiet for rounds 2 and 3, but in round 5, chaos erupted in the ring, and it continued until the end. Morales got the verdict. He landed more punches, but it was Barrera who had landed the harder shots. The rivalry was such, and it continued for another 2 fights. And what fights they were. Erik Morales and Marco Antonio Barrera. Fight number 3 in the greatest of all time.
Hearns gets hurt. Hearns got stunned. Hagler was stunned early in the round. Great first round. Wow. Incredible. Perhaps one of the best in middleweight history.
There were many longer wars
results than the one that took place on April 15, 1985 at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, but few more brutal than the one between Marvin Hagler and Thomas Hearns. It only lasted less than 3 rounds, but they packed so much brutality, passion and violent intent into that time that no one who watched it will ever forget the carnage they witnessed. To put it in context, Hearns had only lost to the great Sugar Ray Leonard in a fight that he was winning when the end came. Several years before, since that defeat, he moved up through the weights, he won another world title at light middleweight. Now he was moving up to middle to pose the sternest challenge to Marvin Hagler's belt. Hagler was well respected, he hadn't lost since 1976. He was a tough, come forward fighter, aggressive. But there was a school of thought that felt he might struggle. He'd been taken 15 rounds by Roberto Duran, who'd then been wiped out by Thomas Hearns, completely destroyed. So Hearns had plenty of confidence going in. Once the fight started, they just both went at each other like a pair of caged dogs who'd been unleashed. Battered each other. Hagler was cut twice in the opening 2 rounds. He'd been warned by the referee at the end of the second, no more, if this carries on, we're going to have to rule you out. This filled him with intent for the third, and he came out and demolished Hearns, got him against the ropes, hammered him. Hearns went down, got up bravely, but couldn't carry on. It only lasted, as I said, less than 3 rounds, but it was the scene of destruction. There was blood everywhere. Everyone just enjoyed it. It was a real visceral delight. This is why it deserves its place at number 2 in our new book of zine, The 100 Greatest Fights.
Ken Norton, I've seen a lot of them, but this has got a rank with Lewis and Kahn, Marciano and Walcott, and the first Ali Frazier fight. This is one of the great ones.
That's very true. These men are staying on the ropes. This is where the men become men.
Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, number 3, the third fight. What a great fight this was. Number 1 in the Boxing News 100 Greatest Fights of all time. And it absolutely deserves that place. It was a sensational fight. The heavyweights, 2 of the greatest heavyweights of all time, 2 of the greatest fighters of all time. It was the third and conclusive fight of their trilogy. Joe Frazier won the first fight in 71. Ali won the second fight in 74. They met again in late 75 for the third time. Muhammad Ali won on the 14th round retirement. Eddie Futch, Joe Frazier's revered trainer, pulled him out at the end of 14 rounds. It was an incredibly sensational fight, very hot and humid. Both men had been to an absolute war, give everything they had over 14 rounds, and Frazier just had nothing left to give. But he came very close to winning at several points early in the fight. Ali also came very close to winning at points. It was that sort of fight, back and forth. Could have ended it several rounds earlier, but Ali had incredible skill, incredible resourcefulness, was in superb condition and had tremendous heart. So Joe Frazier, one of those fights where both men gave everything they had to give, possibly even a little bit more. And everybody in boxing admits that neither man was ever the same again. After that, they left everything in the ring. 14 incredible rounds in the Philippines. An absolutely amazing day for boxing. But it's undoubtedly the greatest fight of all time. And absolutely deserves that number 1 spot in the 100 greatest fights of all time on a special book of zine. A lot of competition for that accolade, but it absolutely deserves to be number 1.
I think it's going to be over. It's all over.